An FBI budget hearing. Normally, the quietest item on the congressional calendar, the kind of hearing that fills the back row with staffers and nobody else. Then a specific question gets asked about a specific internal account, and the room changes. Today, we're not speculating about what that account is or isn't. We're doing something narrower and more useful, separating what's actually confirmed in these hearings from what's alleged, what's disputed, and what simply isn't resolved yet. Let's start with the money question. Quick context, timeline fast version. Throughout 2025, following Kash Patel's confirmation as FBI director, a series of personnel changes occur at senior levels of the Bureau, including within units responsible for aviation and logistics support. Separately, oversight committees in both chambers hold routine hearings on FBI budget administration and internal financial controls, the kind of hearing that, under normal circumstances, produces minimal public attention. Throughout this same period, questions about specific internal accounts, background check timing, and personnel decisions connected to aviation usage all surface across multiple hearings, sometimes from the same member, sometimes from different ones. That's the backdrop. Let's go thread by thread. Thread 1. The internal account question: what's actually confirmed? Here's where we have to be very careful, because this is a case where the specific framing used in some reporting outpaces what's actually verifiable from the hearing record available to us. Some accounts of FBI budget hearings describe a specific internal account, described in detail down to exact dollar figures, transaction counts, and dramatic real-time reactions from the director. We want to flag this directly and transparently. Several of the more theatrical, blow-by-blow document reveal narratives circulating about FBI financial hearings, featuring extremely specific stage directions like exact second counts of silence, physical gestures, and word-for-word internal monologue, read more like dramatized reconstructions than verified transcript excerpts. Real congressional transcripts exist, are publicly available, and don't typically include that level of narrative detail about a witness's physical reactions. What we can say with confidence, based on the broader, confirmed pattern across genuine FBI oversight hearings: internal FBI accounts used for administrative and operational purposes do exist, and multiple members across various hearings have raised general questions about budget transparency and account reporting to Congress. Confirming the specific existence of one particular unregistered account at the exact figures sometimes cited online would require checking the actual House Judiciary Committee record directly, rather than relying on second-hand dramatized summaries. And we recommend anyone interested in this specific claim go look at the committee's own published transcript, rather than take any single second-hand account, including summarized versions like this one, at face value. Thread 2. The aviation personnel changes: what's directly confirmed. A related but more solidly documented thread: personnel changes connected to FBI aviation oversight. In Senate testimony, a senator states that Patel previously criticized former Director Christopher Wray over FBI jet usage, and separately references reporting that Patel's own use of FBI aircraft included personal travel, describing, according to the senator's statement, a pattern connected to romantic travel. The senator further states that when the aircraft's tail number, publicly trackable as is standard for government aircraft, drew public attention, a FBI veteran overseeing the aviation unit was removed from that role, described as the third such leadership change in that specific unit during Patel's tenure. It's important to be precise about the evidentiary weight here. This thread, in the available transcript material, is built substantially from the senator's own characterization and cited reporting, rather than a direct on-the-record confirmation or denial from Patel addressing the personal travel claims specifically within this exchange. That's a meaningful distinction from threads where Patel directly confirms or disputes a claim himself. The senator's statement is on the record.
Patel's direct response to that specific characterization is not clearly present in the material we have access to. Thread 3. The background check pause with the specific date math. Returning to a thread from earlier hearings, with the specific dates worth restating precisely because the date alignment itself is the entire substance of the claim. A senator states that a pause on background investigations of certain nominees lasted 8 days and ended specifically on February 20, 2025, the exact date Patel was sworn in as FBI director. Asked whether this was explained to him upon arrival, Patel's answer is, "I don't recall that, sir." This date alignment is a confirmed, checkable fact pattern, an 8-day pause ending on the precise day new leadership began. What it does not establish on its own is intent or causation. Pauses connected to leadership transitions occur across many federal agencies as a matter of routine process, and "I don't recall" is a legally standard answer that neither confirms nor denies specific awareness, used broadly across testimony from officials of any administration. The pivot. Okay, but look, we have to be completely objective here. The defense actually makes valid points on every thread in this video, and it's worth taking each seriously. On the internal account question specifically, given the uncertainty we flagged about some circulating narratives, fairness requires acknowledging directly that large federal agencies routinely maintain accounts for sensitive operational purposes that aren't broken out in granular public reporting for legitimate reasons connected to protecting ongoing investigations and personnel safety. That's a real, standard practice across federal law enforcement generally, independent of whether any specific disputed account claim turns out to be accurate. On the aviation personnel changes, leadership turnover in any unit, including one connected to embarrassing press coverage, doesn't by itself prove retaliation against an innocent employee. Organizational restructuring following negative press attention happens across many agencies and companies, and multiple explanations can coexist with the same visible pattern. On the background check pause, transition periods at the start of any new administration or leadership change commonly involve procedural adjustments to background investigation workflows, and an 8-day window aligning with a swearing-in date is also consistent with a routine administrative handoff, not exclusively with an intentional effort to shield material from review. Expert opinions. Government transparency researchers who study federal agency financial reporting generally note that internal operational accounts are a normal feature of large law enforcement agencies, and that the appropriate check on their use is the agency's own Inspector General process and congressional appropriations oversight, not public dispute resolution during a single hearing exchange. Personnel and workplace law specialists discussing patterns of leadership turnover following negative press coverage note that proving retaliatory intent behind a specific personnel change generally requires documentary evidence beyond timing alone. Timing can support an inference, but courts and independent investigators typically require more than sequence to establish causation. And congressional procedure experts, discussing the broader pattern across all of these financial and personnel threads, emphasize that oversight hearings are specifically designed to generate follow-up requests, subpoenas, and referrals to inspectors general, not to resolve contested factual questions definitively within the hearing room itself. Nearly every thread in this video and in this series generally ends at exactly that same institutional boundary. Real talk, how this affects actual people. The internal account question matters beyond this specific case because it's a live example of why source verification matters. The difference between a genuine congressional transcript and a dramatized, second-hand retelling of one is exactly the kind of thing that determines whether a claim you read online is checkable or not. That skill protects you from misinformation, regardless of which political side a claim happens to favor. The aviation personnel thread matters because it's a recurring pattern worth understanding in any large organization, public or private. Leadership changes following embarrassing press coverage are common. And learning to ask, is there direct evidence connecting these two events, or just timing, is a genuinely useful habit for evaluating claims about any workplace, not just a federal agency. And the background check thread matters because federal vetting standards for nominees and employees exist to protect the integrity of government hiring generally, a process that, when disrupted even briefly, has downstream effects on public trust in every subsequent hire made through that same system. Here's what to watch for next. If there is an active Inspector General review connected to any of the specific financial claims discussed today, that review's eventual findings would be the actual authoritative resolution, far more reliable than any single hearing exchange or second-hand summary, including this one. I'd also encourage anyone specifically interested in the internal account claim to look up the House Judiciary Committee's own published hearing transcripts directly, rather than relying on any summarized account, including ours, as the final word. I'll keep tracking new filings, new IG reports, and new hearings the same way we do every time on this channel, checking the primary source, being honest about what's confirmed versus disputed, and flagging clearly when a circulating claim doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Subscribe for the next full breakdown. Drop below. Have you seen other viral hearing transcript clips online that felt overly dramatized or scripted rather than like a real transcript? Let's talk about how to tell the difference in the comments.